Okay, welcome to the March 3rd meeting of the Carver Finance Committee. And we've got a few presentations from department heads. We're wrapping those up tonight. So let's, we'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we've got a quorum present, and we may have another member zooming in. We're trying to do that. We got a little technical difficulty, I guess. Okay, so we'll start out, and tonight we will start out with the police department, and Chief Dufley is here, so please come up.
Good evening.
Welcome, Chief.
Welcome. Thank you for having me. Before I start, I got the questions that were sent to us by email, and I figured I'd try to stick to those 3 questions. You said you wanted to keep this quick or
not quick,
brief. But,
just...
but before I start, is there any specific questions you have that I could address first? No? All right. I will start off with the first question that I had, which was a review of fiscal year FY24. So FY24 was a typical year. We were staffed at 18 full-time police officers, 4 full-time dispatchers, 2 part-time animal control officers, 1 part-time records clerk, and a full-time admin assistant. During that time, we responded to approximately 15,000 calls for service. I'm just going to focus on the points where we went over. I think that's a better way to look at this. And the start is where we always go over, which is overtime. I think I've explained before that overtime is a lot like the snowplow budget. We can't predict in our industry what emergencies we may have to respond to or bring more people in to cover at the start of the year. And in the past, we've never done a great job of budgeting for overtime. We never really took into account what we have been spending in the past, although we've tracked it. So the amount is always lower than we usually need. We did exceed our overtime budget for the police and dispatch in FY24. That is partly because both departments require a minimum number of personnel to be on duty at all times. And we have to, when somebody takes a vacation day or a sick day or a personal day, we have to be able to backfill that. When somebody's out at training, we have to be able to backfill that. When a major incident happens that requires other police officers to come in to help with, like a large accident or a high-end investigation, might require us to bring other people in. So we have to use overtime to fill that because of the staffing levels we have. In addition, there's been a great deal of additional training required through the police reform bill that we have to send police officers to, and we have to use. Sorry, can you hear me?
Wait a minute. Excuse me a minute, Chief. Can we shut this? Can that get shut off? No?
Karen does.
Okay. Sorry, I guess we got to talk louder. Go ahead, continue, Chief.
All right, so anyway, we have, as always, gone over with our overtime budget. We're doing a better job under our new finance director in predicting what overtime will be, so we're hoping to budget better for that, and in moving forward, we are working on staffing up to a level that would allow us to perform the duties that we have to perform without backfilling everything when somebody takes a day off. In FY24, in our operational expenses, 2 categories stand out. Training and repair and maintenance of vehicles both went over considerably. Again, I mentioned training. With the new police reform bill, there's a considerable amount of training that we have to send our officers to that is required. There's also a considerable amount of training that we have to send of our police dispatchers to. And that training, we spend the money out, but it gets reimbursed by state 911. It doesn't seem to show that on the VADAR sheet that I have, that reimbursement came back in, but that's why that number is so high. And repair and maintenance of vehicles, the cost of parts have just considerably risen over the years. We're still maintaining a low maintenance budget for vehicles, but the parts have gone up and we didn't increase the line enough in that year to cover it. So that's why we went over on that. That year, FY24 capital expenses, we were authorized to spend $175,000 for police vehicles. And we use that money, we take this very seriously about the money that we spend. Obviously, we've said that before, it's all taxpayer money, and we want to get the best bang out of our dollar that we can. Sergeant Kelly's behind me. He handles our purchasing of fleet, new vehicles. And in that $175,000, we were able to purchase a new marked vehicle, a new unmarked vehicle, which is my car, and 2 used unmarked admin vehicles, all under that number. We had originally planned, we'd asked for about $200,000 to accomplish that, but we were able to, being frugal, make it work. We've, in the past, as I mentioned, we buy brand new vehicles for the road, for the police officers that are going to calls, but we try to purchase used vehicles for our admin fleet that do respond to calls, but not in the same frequency or need. So he made a good use of that money and got 4 vehicles out of it, which helped us to catch up on some vehicles that we've been holding off on. And that's what we spent that on. We also used $12,500 in capital that year to purchase some new bullet-resistant vests. Our vests expire every 5 years and have to be replaced, so that's what we did. That's my FY24 overview. I don't know if you have any questions on that before I move on. Sure.
Last year, you mentioned how you have the officers kind of own their own vehicle. You
Yes.
Still don't, is that working well?
Yes, that is working very well, yep. And as you'll see, as we're talking about tonight, in this current year, FY25 and FY26, we're actually catching up. So the plan is designed to have everybody have their own cruiser, and it was designed that we could replace 2 a year, and we'd be able to maintain that. But one of the big values of that program is when we're having a tight year, when capital is low and we need to cut back, we have the ability to, okay, well, we can get another year out of this cruiser, because the plan's designed to get 7 years and 155,000 miles out of a car. We've never reached 155,000 miles, but we've exceeded the 7 years and gone all the way to 10 years with some of these vehicles and kept them on the road. As we approach that, obviously, the maintenance costs increase because it's an older vehicle, but they've given us that ability in lean years to be able to say, okay, well, we can defer buying a cruiser this year. Actually, in the past 15 years, we've probably deferred about 5 years, at least 1 cruiser, if not the 2 cruisers. But that also means we got to catch up. So we're in a couple of catch-up years now. If we after this year, and if we get the capital requests that we have for FY26, following that, we'll be back on track to go back to 2 and stay at that. We're bringing cruises offline sooner so that we have more trade-in value, more value to the cruiser when it's done. In the past, the cruiser was done and it was done. You get $500 for it. Now we're having vehicles that we could actually trade in and get some value to them because we're doing that. So we're like I said, we're trying to make the most out of every dollar we have, because it comes out of each of your wallets and everybody else in the town's wallet, and we want to make sure that when we're done with the program, the value that it produces is there. We're still spending a lot of money. It's, we're asking for a lot of money, but I think we're getting a lot more value out of it. If you compare us to some other small towns, Hanson or so, that do pool cruises, our maintenance budget to maintain our cruises is still considerably less than what they do, because theirs are just on the road running all the time, so.
That was, just to make a comment on that was, that's not a new program that we have. That's been in existence for quite a number of years. And I can remember back, it probably was in the 90s, when Artie Parker was a interim chief. That's when it came in.
Yeah, it was actually, he came in 2005.
Oh,
Yep,
was
and that's
was it?
Yep, that's when we
Was it
started.
that?
Yep.
Okay, then,
And it was slow to build up to, because we didn't just buy all the cruises that year. We bought a few to catch up and
Okay.
made that work. But it's been in place that long, yeah.
but I remember that and I remember the discussion
Sure.
about it, but it's turned out to be very fruitful.
Absolutely.
It's turned out to be a very
I imagine
good
it was a
program.
hard discussion to have, to say we're going to buy a bunch of police cars.
It
But in the long run, I really do believe you save
does.
money over the long run. And you can prove it out with, with a spreadsheet that shows the cost that we spent to maintain the cars. And now, in addition to that, the value you're getting in trading them in, instead of getting $500, there's some value to them.
Okay, good. Thanks, Chief.
You're welcome. So, next question was, how is this year going, the current budget? It's going great, as it always is. We are, again, in overtime, which that's to be expected. We had a glitch or a problem with dispatch, and that we lost 2 of our dispatchers, moved on to different positions, and we've hired 2 new ones. They're still in training, but they're coming along. But because of that, we're down to 3 dispatchers, and that means even more overtime that we had to fill. So We know that it's happening, we're anticipating it, we're going to have to deal with that problem as we get to the end of the year. We do have, fortunately, some grant money that comes back from State 911 that will help to mitigate the problem, so I can't tell you exactly how big the problem will be at the end of the year. It really depends on how quickly we get these 2 dispatchers trained and into positions. In addition, this year, we added a 19th police officer who started in December, so we're up to 19. I said we had 18 in 2024. Back in 2018, we contacted a company called MRI and had them prepare a strategic plan for the department moving forward. That plan included a new police station, coming out of civil service, a deputy chief position, updates on policy and procedures, and in addition, it talked about staffing. And it talked about staffing at a level that provides the service level that the citizens of Carver expect. And that level is about 720 calls per year per officer. As the number of calls increases, so should the number of police officers on the street. In that plan, we should have been at 22 police officers by now, and we're at 19. It's just, we've asked every year, and we work with the town every year on the budgets. It's just not, we couldn't afford it. But as we get closer to that, that will somewhat mitigate overtime, right? We have to do our work sometimes on overtime because we don't have enough bodies. As we have more bodies, we'll be able to do more work on straight time instead of overtime, so it will help to mitigate that. This year's, like I said, we're at 19, which is 1 higher than we were in 2002 when I first came here from New Bedford, so we're moving there, but a little slow. But I think you'll see a positive impact on our overtime with those new additions. Plus, it helps us to be out in the community more and make our presence. In addition, this year we have a grant from the state to do traffic enforcement. One of the big complaints in town is speeding cars and accidents, and so we have a traffic grant that's has some provisions in it that lets us send officers out on overtime to do traffic enforcement, and the state pays for that, so that's a good thing this year. And we also have the State 911 grant that we get every year for the dispatch center, which we'll be using to help us with the overtime issue in dispatch. I don't have anything more. Any questions on this current year?
I do have a question.
Go ahead, Barry.
I'm just listening to you talk about the increase in police officers, and we're
Yes.
still shorthanded there. But since I live here, is crime on the rise, or like is that why there are more calls, or is it all sorts of things?
Crime, this is a very safe community and a very good community, and it really varies on what's going on. It ebbs and flows. But we're trying to get to a level where we have enough officers to provide a level of service that the citizens would expect, and we're just not there yet. Crime changes with the wind. You know, we a few years back we had a serious overdose problem and lost a lot of people to that, and that has we've done a lot of work on that. We joined Plymouth County Outreach, which follows up on those, and we've impacted that problem itself. So that changes a little bit, but crime comes and goes, and it really depends on human beings.
Yeah.
So
But we still have a good reputation for a safe town.
yes, we do.
Excellent.
We're not Marshfield, the safest community in the country, I think. Phil Tavares likes to throw that out there, but we are a very safe community.
Yeah,
Yep, good.
I think
Go
the
ahead.
chief just said it, and I just want to reiterate it. I think that additional staffing really is to bring down the overtime. And I think that's the real, benefit to it. You know, whether you're paying an officer, $8,000 a year, it actually winds up being a lot less than the overtime you wind up paying for positions not being filled.
Good point. Thank you.
You're welcome. And the last question I had was, what do you want to do in FY26? And I want to continue to spend your money wisely and give you good police work. We've asked for appropriate increases in the salary line to cover contractual agreements. We've asked for some capital requests to bring our fleet up to where we want it to be. And we plan to spend that money, as we have done the past 12 years, in a responsible manner and give you good police work. And next year, we're going to ask you for a little more so we can give you better police work. Again, I can go through this current year. We're asking for 3 marked cruisers, again, to bring us up to where we need to be, and a used animal control vehicle. We've always just used a used cruiser for that, but it's not the best vehicle for that, so we're hoping to get some money to buy a used pickup truck type vehicle that will be easier and better used for animal control stuff. we continue to apply for the state 911 grant, and that traffic grant I talked about, we'll continue to apply for that again next year. We are also looking to find funding, hopefully maybe with the opioid settlement funds, but we'd like to find a way to bring a clinician on board. There was a grant through the state last year that's currently dried up. We had a clinician that helped us respond to calls and to provide better service to people suffering from mental health issues on scene, and to bridge that gap between the police and the hospital when they get there. And we had that clinician for about 3 months, but she took a job in Braintree because it was better pay. The grant has since dried up, so we've got to be creative and find a way to do that. It's definitely an asset to what we do. That person's not a police officer, but she or he can ride with a police officer and go to calls like that and help to mitigate them, help to de-escalate them, and help to make a better response for that person who's suffering. So that's one of the things we'd like to try to do. I'm not sure where we're going to be with that right now, but we're still working on that. And that's all I have. Any questions?
Does the salary increase include another officer for this coming year?
We did request it, yes. It's to be determined, through the budget process, whether that's going to move forward or not.
And I remember a few years back you were talking about how challenging it was to find good candidates. Is that still the situation? Is there still a dearth of candidates?
It certainly is. The profession itself has seen a decline in people interested in coming into this profession. We've been a little demoralized and a little badgered in the news, so not a lot of good people are trying to come in, but we're still finding good people. We've been fortunate. This current year we found 2 officers that worked for other departments, one who worked for the town of Falmouth for a year and one who worked for the town of Plimpton for 2 years, and we were able to bring those in to our department. They're fairly new in their career, so they can come to Carver and learn the way we do it in Carver. And so we've been successful in that. We've been fortunate in that. I think that's a sentiment to the work that our town administrator, our select board, our police union have to make sure that we have a contract that provides the benefits that would attract somebody to come and work here. The world we live in today is much different police-wise than it was even 10 years ago. Civil service, most departments in the state now have come out of civil service instead of being in civil service, and civil service prevented people from moving from department to department. It made it much more difficult. Well, now you have a lot of departments that are not in it anymore, so it's basically a free agency, so people have the ability to move around, and they're going to move around and find the place that provides them with the best benefits for them and their family. We've done a very good job at staying competitive and staying on top of that, and that's because of, as I mentioned, the town administrator, the select board, and the police union working together to make that happen. So we've been successful in finding people, but that can change in a heartbeat. If you don't stay on this, you're not constantly watching what's going on and seeing the changes in the industry and adapting to that. We've done a good job of working together to accomplish that, and that's, I think, why we've been successful. As we mentioned a few years ago, how difficult it was to get people. We've overcome that, I think, because the reputation this town has, the reputation the department has, and the benefits and the rewards there are for coming to work here.
Sure.
We're in a brand new station, have the cruiser program and other things like that. So we've done a lot of work to make sure we can attract good quality people and that we can keep them here. And that's because of everybody in this room and everybody who's worked hard to make that happen. We couldn't do it without everybody's support. So,
Thank you.
Okay, good. Questions? Anybody else? No? Okay. Well, we thank you very much, Chief.
sure. I hope it
good to
was
see you.
what you wanted.
Yep,
It was the first
yep.
time we've done it this way. So
And keep up the good work.
thank you very much. Thank you
Thank
all.
you.
Have a great night. You have a question?
No, he's good.
Next, we
Just
have
wave me
emergency
down if
management
you
with
have one.
Mr. Walsh.
Yeah. Yes, he's here on Zoom.
Good evening. Those of you who don't know me, I'm Tom Walsh. I'm the Emergency Management Director for the town. My approach is a little different than Mark. I want to kind of give an overview of emergency management, how it's changed over the past couple of years, and what we're doing now and how we're structured. From the mid-1980s until July 1st of 2020, the town of Carver had a full-time emergency management director. I personally held that position from February of 2004 until my retirement from full-time employment on July 1st, 2020. During that period of time, from 1990 to 2020, I was also the emergency medical services chief, which a job that Mike Ryan has taken over now. One of the main reasons why the emergency management director's job was full-time was because the town was within 10 miles of a nuclear power plant, commonly known as the emergency planning zone, and there's a lot of federally required planning and drills and FEMA evaluations that the town had to deal with. In 2019, 1 year prior to my retiring, the nuclear power plant ceased to produce power, and the decommissioning process, which is still going on, but the nuclear preparedness program was eliminated, and the completion of the elimination was in early 2020. So after formally retiring as a full-time employee, I agreed to stay on as a part-time emergency management director because I didn't feel that the job, now that EMS had become full-time with Mike Ryan taking it over, and I could be part-time working within the hours of a retiree, which at the time was 960 hours a year. So it was my intention, and still is, to work about 15 hours a week. Between 2020 and 2023, we were able to upgrade and renew our hazard. One of the things I forgot to mention was, even though when the nuclear program left, that still left emergency management responsible for updating the comprehensive emergency management plan, the federally required hazard mitigation plan, compliance with the Emergency Planning and Community Right to Know Act and the Local Emergency Planning Committee, the Hazardous Material Response Plan and certification with the state, as well as the shelter plan, the Continuity of Operations Plan, and disaster recovery efforts. So these are the things that we're doing on what we would refer to as a blue sky day. And I'm down there for 15 hours a week, as well as other staff, which I'll get into shortly. So again, I wanted to continue to work 15 hours. We were able to upgrade our hazard mitigation plan, which is a major undertaking requiring hiring a consultant and working through a very difficult federal process, as well as updating our hazardous materials response plan, and as well as recovering monies from FEMA for the blizzard of 2022. What became obvious, however, though, was in 15 hours, I didn't have the time to do the detailed document work that was necessary. And because of the COVID-19 pandemic, I could have increased my hours by as many as 10 hours and still been within the expanded 1,250 hours or whatever it is. But I don't want to do that. So I was able to bring on board a woman who worked with me in emergency management as part of the nuclear response group within the emergency planning zone, also a retiree, and she has been working about 12 hours a week. Last year, her budget, the budget included 9 hours for her, which proved to be inadequate. So with the approval of the town administrator, we increased her hours and took the additional money out of a disaster recovery fund that's been put aside for the use of emergency management when necessary. And my budget this year, which is, relatively small budget, is kind of a rounding error for some of the bigger budgets. It does incorporate the 12 hours into the budget, along with my salary and Deputy Ken Morrison's salary. It should also be noted that the budget also includes $6,000 for a public relations service that would be used by all public safety and town services when necessary, kind of in a disaster situation, which is simply paid for by emergency management. So it's in that budget, but it's something that would be not necessarily expended by emergency management. I would also point out that the staffing model of 3 retirees working hours within the restriction of a retiree accomplishes operating what I consider to be an excellent emergency management service for the community without generating any pension or fringe benefit costs for the town, as well as bringing together the experience for about 50 years of emergency management experience. And finally, using ARPA funds, we have been able to take what we were left with when the nuclear power plant, all funding used to be paid for by the nuclear power plant. That's how emergency management was funded for all those years. We had some money that was left over that got us until 2024, which is the first year that we were fully reliant on the town to give us money. We've been able to upgrade the Emergency Operations Center, which was left kind of without any phones, with no computer capability or anything, to what now is a modern state-of-the-art Emergency Operations Center. And that project is wrapping up this month. And it's been very useful, by the way, having our own in-town hall IT support to get that project done. And I want to acknowledge John Neely as the IT manager for the efforts that he's put in, still putting in some to finish the project up, but a lot of it amounted to IT. So that's what we've been doing, and what I expect to be doing in the future is we're concentrating now on beginning to roll out an update to the continuity of operations plan for all departments. The LEPC, Local Emergency Planning Committee, which is a requirement of the EPCA law that was passed by back in the 1986. It's kind of gone dormant because as a result of COVID, and then the state, the federal government makes the law, and then the state kind of interprets it, and they decided that the way they'd been interpreting it really wasn't the way it should be, and so they're changing things, and so we're a little bit up in the air on, but I plan to next year, if not this year, start that up again. We also get about a $3,500 a year grant, emergency management performance grants, which have been around for several years, and I use that money this year to buy some additional furniture for the new EOC, as well as additional shelter supplies for the which are stored down at the high school, along with our cots and other things, where we have a very well-developed shelter plan, and Carver High School is our shelter. So, if you have any questions.
I just got one quick one.
Good, Barry.
I was interested in that spokesperson, the $6,000.
Yeah.
So is that like when we see on national TV, if there is an emergency, then someone speaks on behalf of the town? Or?
Yeah, right. It came out of, we did an active shooter drill, and everyone had a certain responsibility, and the responsibility that emergency management would have would be to activate the Emergency Operations Center and to have the civilian leadership of the community go there and to begin to immediately deal with the press. Because, today, I mean, as soon as something happens, you're going to have to deal with that. And there's a company in the area that have become specialists in this, and they are used by a lot of the towns in the area. And we originally started with a bigger contract that was like in the 20s, I think. And then the school left the program, and we didn't want to go as high as we went last year. But we came to an agreement with them. Actually, Chief Dufilly negotiated it, and $6,000, which is paid through the Emergency Management Fund, but it's there for the use of any emergency department or even town administrator or whatever, as a way to rapidly and quickly communicate with specialists in doing that when you need them.
And then if we don't need it, we still pay that because it's...
We still pay that. We pay that $6,000 for them answering the phone and coming when we, as well as they do offer training at no cost or minimal cost throughout the year as well, if you're one of their customers.
Gotcha. Thank you.
That's the other professional services?
Yes.
Okay.
So Tom, do you have any concerns about maybe something that you're not able to do?
Not really, not really. I think we're doing everything emergency management is supposed to do. Now, if it weren't for ARPA, I would be telling you, yeah, we need an EOC. We got a big empty room down there, a couple of tables, and there's some funding that's necessary. But the upgrade to the EOC was a $210,000 project, which is about $164,000 in IT and $42,000 in furniture. So, I mean, I encourage you to stop down. We have it's a very nice facility now. So now I feel that although we have to keep up with the technical capabilities of being to use the equipment, which we're all working on. I think your emergency management department is ready to handle anything that comes along.
And that's right in this building?
In the basement.
Good, all right.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd love to come
Oh,
by.
I remember the days.
Yeah, you used to come to the drills representing the school when
Times,
the nuclear,
for
yes,
years,
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
yeah, but that room, you should come down and take a look at it now, Pat.
I will, next time I'm
Different
here.
place.
Any other questions for the chief? No?
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, and as always, keep up the good work. Okay. Next, we have Council on Aging, please.
Good evening.
Hi.
I have a combination of things along with my budget. Basically, a level-funded budget for FY26. Incorporates the new position, which was part of this year's budget, which is really the only new addition, I think, that is on there. Just a recap of the accomplishments for FY25 in the year 2024. I think where it was just mentioned now with ARPA funds being a great support for getting some ability for us to do some additional things. But just overall, we've expanded and grown in the last year. We have My Senior Center is the software program that records attendance. Is a database that we work with that is pretty much universal through a lot of the area COAs that use that My Senior. In fact, I discovered that it's not only nationally used, but internationally used in Canada as well. So it's a great resource for us to really track how well and how much we're growing every year. And so comparatively, we did grow about 15% in our registrations for seniors. We're up to over 500 registered seniors when we began the program in 2021. And about 15% increase over 2023. It also shows that on an average daily attendance, looking at the entire year, there were 44 seniors on a daily basis. And that's throughout the day, so it's just, they may not be 44 people staying there from opening to close, but we have a variety of programs that have the attendance throughout the day. So by the end of the day, on average, 44 people, which I think is a really good showing. And of that registered seniors, a total of 206 were unduplicated seniors, so individual seniors in the year of 2024 attended for some activities or some events through that year. So it just shows at least close to half those that are registered are very active in the community as well, in the COA. We've been able to expand some programming. We're limited with the size. Our building is an antique former residence, and we love the quaintness of it, but it also has its challenges. And we're trying to fit programming into all the spaces that we have. And it's working, to a degree, but there's limited space. So we'd like to encourage more attendance and growth in that regard, but we are limited with the space that we have. We have movement programs such as chair yoga. We're limited to chair yoga just because we just don't have the ability to offer actual yoga. We even have line dancing with the Burbanks, who are local to the community, and they work with a room that is narrow and long, and somehow they manage to do their line dancing, and that's very popular. And, so we adjust. We work with what we have. We've added beach ball, chair volleyball, which is, again, works with our size and our structure, but we're able to add different programs. We found educational programming has been very popular, and I'd like to expand that going into the new year. Nancy Franks offers a lecture series, and we've had, standing room only attendance for some of her programs, so it's showing that that's a very strong interest in the community. Nature programs are always popular. I've been working with Plymouth Extension and Audubon for the programming that they offer. Nutrition programs are very helpful. It's educational, but it's also well-liked and well-attended. And that's through BID Plymouth with their registered dietitian. And she offers about every other month some programming. And some of these are great. There's no cost to some of them, working with some of these agencies. And we really try to take advantage of those. Old Colony Elder Services offers a lot of health and wellness programs, and we definitely try to take advantage of those. Just this year, we offered an additional social program, Knitting and Crocheting Club, and that's a program which thankfully we can kind of maintain in our space because it doesn't need a lot of room. So I'm looking into how we can expand in that area as well. We take advantage of Carver Cultural Council grants. In this past year, we had 7 programs that included everything from music performances, visual arts, and natural science. And those are always, very well attended and great support throughout the whole year. Our Friends group is very active with fundraising. They support a lot of our programming, and they also sponsor bus trips where they heavily discount for members of the Friends, and so it's a very good incentive for the seniors to join the Friends to get those discounts. We also had our GATRA service throughout last year offering little monthly day trips that were like to local attractions or local museums and things like that we were able to offer in a much more affordable sense than the big bus trips, and that was well received. We did have to limit it to a degree where we lost a couple of our drivers, so we just didn't have the flexibility. But we did increase our capacity where we exchanged one of our 8-passenger buses for a 12-passenger bus. So we're keeping up with the need. The transportation needs are growing just in general. I have some bedtime reading to distribute to you. We formatted a new newsletter that has allowed us to do full color and 8 pages, which is twice of what I had prior, which was only black and white. And I've already seen a great response. We started actually at the beginning of this year, a great response because I think it's a lot more engaging. We're likely to reach seniors that will pick this up and learn about the COA and what we offer. And that was through LPI Publishing. I want to say a lot of local COAs work with this publisher. Their promotion is that they will provide the printing for free with advertising that they pursue inside. And it was very worthwhile for us to take advantage because we can put much more information into it, but probably the most popular thing is we're able to put our monthly menu in there. And so that has been a huge hit with regard, but I've already heard a lot of new people that have picked this up. We distribute them. I just put a stack downstairs here in the town hall. They're throughout the community, all the banks, Rockland Trust, all the different banks, the churches, doctors' offices, Shaw's. The library has a whole display. They've given us a corner that we can actually display our activities in. So I'm hoping that this will spur on some new interest and attraction to what we have going on. The improvements we were able to achieve this past year through the ARPA funding, we had new freezers, replacing old hand-me-downs that were not functioning, as well as commercial kitchen appliances, all through the ARPA funding. Additional purchases we were able to make, we have new chairs for our nutrition center, which is a very tight space to begin with, and these were a better fit for our space. They were also lighter weight, easier to move, easier to clean, and I think it's made a big difference in our space utility that we have. Dealing with our limited parking, which is yet to still be addressed in other ways, but the first thing we were able to do is O&M was able to expand our back driveway to widen it, and what we did is remove our staff parking into that space, so we opened it up for the seniors to use the open parking area. We have a total of just 22 spaces. I want to say about 8 of which are handicapped, but for seniors, almost all of the spaces should be handicapped. And we have a staircase up from our parking lot, as well as a very lengthy ramp that still makes it difficult for the seniors. So there's only about 6 spaces that are at, ground level to enter the building. So we're still trying to look at alternative options that we have to provide for more. And there is, I think, something before the town for expanding with new paving in other areas that we might be able to gain some more space. We are at our maximum space on our lot where we are. And that is the biggest complaint, because when seniors need to park beyond our parking, they're parking down to the local pond parking area, and that's an uphill climb from that point. So we do deal with that on a lot of the days that we get a lot of bingo days, definitely, and any of these other bigger programs, we get a lot of attendance. We added, as I mentioned, the new part-time position, which is an activities coordinator and an administrative assistant. One of the key aspects, not only picking up a lot of that responsibility, which was part of what I was doing along with the director responsibilities, is her placement in a visible spot when you enter the building. We were lacking any form of a reception aspect when you walked into the building, and this position has immediately addressed that. People are greeted and actually invited to learn more about the COA and can be addressed right away. So I think besides having the additional assistance, it's been very well received from the seniors that have been coming in, and a lot of new seniors, signing up for that matter. And one of the key things for this year's budget I advocated for and want to still see some progress with was funding for a feasibility study, which is to really, and included the COA as well as EMS as the 2 departments that have basically outgrown the current buildings that we're in. If we were going to invest in a feasibility study, I think both departments should be looked at. But wanting to plan, the COA was formed in 1971, and not a lot had changed up until, I think the Marcus Atwood trustees did a major renovation, providing for some ADA compliance and whatnot back, and that was in 2010. Up until now, nothing else has really been done, and it's been not ideal as a COA from day one, and we're just finding that we're growing. I love the building, I love the quaintness of it, but it has concerns, safety, and just with a lot of limitations that we deal with. So I think the feasibility study would just be helpful to get at least a plan in place, and that is in this year's budget. For next year, the goals, I hope to work on increasing attendance as much as we can with the programming that we already find are successful, and just expanding that. Looking at reorganizing some of the spaces within the building itself. An area on the basement level, which is where our dispatcher is really not a public space for the seniors, but there's some open areas of space that now could be reorganized with perhaps our outreach worker based on that level, and more accessible actually to seniors that come to visit. Right now, her office is on the second floor, and she has a satellite office on the first floor, and she is actually between two floors. So if we do that, the office, her satellite office on the first floor could be opened up and actually create a multi-purpose space that could actually be for another more programming on a smaller scale. And I'm looking to try to see ways that we can utilize the building we have for the time being. We also want to try to update, I've already spoke with IT, with John, about ways we can update the computers. We have some very old computers in our library room, but would like to make that, as technology is very limiting for a lot of the seniors, giving some accessibility and updating that. We have iPads, which I'm looking into expanding programming with that. So we already have them, but just trying to develop programs to support that. Expanding intergenerational opportunities with the Carver schools and Old Colony VOTEC. We've been doing some, and I'd like to expand those as well. All of which really has no cost factor involved here, but just trying to attract more and offer more. We are already part of a developing outreach program with the activities coordinator who's working on this, is trying to pull together events and activities coordinated with some the senior housing as well as the senior villages in the town. We know where they live, so let's go to them and actually educate. There's a lot of questions about what does the COA offer, what activities. A lot of villages have their own activities on site, but they maybe aren't aware of what we offer, and it's certainly open to all the seniors. So that's a program that she's going to work together with also the COA board members, incorporating some aspect of introducing a lot of those members, because they represent the seniors of the community. If anyone wants to raise an issue or concern or just any type of thing, that now they can be introduced to the board members and know who they are. So that would be part of the educational process. And just basically working towards what the future holds for the COA down the road. We have the latest developments in the community have been 55 and up developments, and I think the last census had us at 3,530 seniors, which is now 5 years ago. With those 55 and up developments, we're probably closer to 4,000, and that's a third of the population of this town. And looking to say, what do we have in the future for our seniors as far as a facility that is designed to be for seniors, accessible by seniors who have limited mobility, and just would be maybe centrally located, so more accessible to everyone in town. So I'd like to just get a plan in place. It may be far off in the future, but that's part of the hope that is part of the plans as well. Any questions or anything on that idea?
What is the status of the feasibility study at this point? We approved it last year, I think.
It was approved at last town meeting, so the funds were available starting in July. The last update was that I think that Do you have the details on that?
I sure could. So
Yeah.
the O&M director is working to procure an engineering firm or architectural firm to get that study underway. So I did have a meeting with them last week to get that moving along.
Does that tend to be like challenging to get a firm to do that sort of work? I know that sometimes we put out RFQs and nobody responds.
He did have some challenges. $50,000 budget. Honestly, the proposal coming in will come in much higher.
Yeah.
So we've had to have some discussions with the applicants and see if they can get work with us, and maybe we take on a little bit of that work ourselves and get that number down.
Okay.
Honestly, at $50,000, it was surprising, the quotes that came in.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think it's going to be valuable to a lot of aspects of the town, so I think it's definitely something we need to keep an eye on.
How do we compare to other towns as far as, it sounds like you've done a thorough job, amazing what I just heard, but like our facility is probably, obviously not state of the art. And I
Correct.
just think of that Plymouth place that they built when they
Yes.
built the high school.
Most of the area COAs are relatively new, are updated to a degree, and are designed to be actually a COA.
Yeah.
I know Halifax, there's a couple of area COAs, like Halifax has a building, but they've also now committed to an addition or renovation to update it. That's where the feasibility comes into play. I think I can easily say that there's no way to make this one work in any form of, just because of the site we're on and how it's, and the multi-levels. We have a very big building, but the space utility is what's the issue here, and also accessibility. There's nowhere to go on this property. So that's part of the feasibility study that would confirm that, and then to say, then what's the next option in the community? Is there space here? I don't feel that there's an existing building that would work. My own personal, but I'm not the professional to make that judgment, and where, a centrally located, spot would be ideal, and then looking at that too, wanting it to be an area that would, like I say, be a one-level building, and have, sufficient parking, which is a big issue that we have. So all these factors have to play into the wish list of what would make sense. But the fact that this hasn't even been a wish list item on like the town, concept. We're already discussing the need to replace the middle high school, which is 38 years old somewhere, and we've got about 150 years on that one. So it's kind of like, we're thinking that, why isn't there something just to say, we're thinking about a COA, what's the plan? And whatever the plan could be, it could be 10 years out from now, but there's a starting point, and that's what I'm hoping this can be.
Right.
So from there. Any other questions?
Any other questions? Well, thank you very much. Thank you for the job you do.
Oh, yeah.
Keep doing a good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Last but not least, here we go. We will have our town clerk, Kara Dayhill. Welcome.
Good evening. I don't even know where to start. This last year was everything. We had 4 elections in a calendar year, and we'll have 3 that hit this fiscal year of FY25. So we still have the local election to get through. Coming into fiscal year 2026, we'll have 2. So you'll notice some changes in my budget. I was able to go down on my election side. We always kept that fully funded in the event we've had absences. The girl that's my office assistant was out for some things, and we had some monies that maybe if we had to have a couple of election workers come in to help, we could expend those, but we didn't have to, so that's where we saved on that. I didn't prepare a big speech. We've really been just going all the time. The clerk's office has evolved into, it used to be that there were seasons where you had some downtime and then you were busy. We're constantly busy now. With the new Vote Act, there's always a task to be done to prepare for the next election, and they just roll right into each other. And that's reflected in my budget. Some of the expenses, some of these improvements that we've made in technology. For a town meeting, I think everybody really likes the voting clickers that we have. They cost about $1,000 a year for that subscription, for that software to use those. We purchased 600 of them with the help of the Finance Committee, and it was, I think they were very well received at town meeting. Now, whether or not we have a town meeting that we can use them, that if we have too many people come to, we're still working on that. Sometimes you can borrow some, but you have to borrow from a community that's large enough that have numbers that go beyond 600, because you can't give someone the same number and then determine whose clickers they are at the end to give back. So we've looked into, for this coming town meeting, we use poll pads. The state is going to all electronic check-in. So those poll pads that we have, if you've been to the elections, you'll see the ladies with a nice iPad screen, and check-in is a lot quicker than it used to be, than them flipping through a book, and a lot more accurate as well. They want us to have a backup now for them. So I was able to get 4, again, with the help of the Finance Committee in the past, and it looks like we're probably going to need to get at least 3 more so that we have a backup for each precinct. So inquired into the price of what it would be to rent some in the event that we have a really big town meeting, and we would like to have, 8 check-ins for that. It'd be about $2,000 to rent them and about $6,000 to purchase 4 more. So that's a want going into the future. We've kept our old election equipment for as long as we possibly can. It's great equipment. It's not the new Dominion stuff that everybody was going crazy about that has scannability. They're old. They work with cards. They're very predictable. We love them, but the vendor is not going to supply and be able to repair them and support them like they had in the past. So I believe in this next year coming up, we're going to have to take the monies that we had set aside for new election equipment and bite the bullet and get something new. And depending on the growth of the town, that may be an additional precinct coming on at some point. So once we reach 4,000 people in each precinct, that's the maximum that you can have, then we would have to grow and have another precinct. So, yeah, we're right on the brink of it. We've got just about 11,000 residents in town and about 9,900 registered voters, so we're growing.
Yeah.
If we have another big development come in, we'll be there for sure.
So when you, Kara, just to interrupt you for a minute, but said 4,000 per precinct. So if a precinct
If we
goes
go over,
over, do you redraw the lines?
we have to re-precinct. So we just did the decennial census not that long ago, and I can give Connie some good numbers too for her stuff. I can pull that out of the state system for her. But when we did that, I had the help of Kevin Forg. We don't have an engineer in the building, and anyone with that kind of stuff, but he's done that before. So he worked with me a couple years ago, and we did it together and redrew the lines, redid the maps, re-precinct where we could, but there probably, I would say precinct 3 has a slightly higher population than the other 2 precincts. So it's a matter of taking somebody on one side of the road and putting them back over into another precinct to balance that out for now. But we're in good shape for now for that. It's just this is coming up, and I know it's a big expense. So back in, I believe it was 2021 or 2020, actually, there was money set aside, about $24,000 for new voting equipment. But since then, since we need to have one extra for a backup at least, it's going to probably be about another $6,500 added to that. So to get 4 new tabulators, it's going to cost somewhere around probably $35,000, and we've got maybe that's for 5, about $30,000 for 4. So we've got 24 of it now, which is good. That's been set aside. it's just a matter of biting the bullet, getting through this next election with the equipment that we have, and then the company will buy back our equipment, because they're actually selling those overseas somewhere where they're using that technology, so it's not going to go to waste. But I really hate giving them up. They're great machines. They've been wonderful for us. And the other parts of my budget, census, very expensive, paper's been very expensive, the cost of printing has gone up. Postage, of course, is huge on that. The street listing books, printing those, we printed less. I saw that was like a huge waste. We were charging, I forget what it was, maybe $15 a book or $10 a book, and they were costing us almost $20 a book. So I said, that's not working. So if anybody needs it, we have electronic listings of that we give out. We give it to the department heads. We put them in town hall. If someone calls and they would like to have an electronic listing, we can give them that. Other than that, we have a limited amount in print. So we're not spending a huge amount of money on printing books and then throwing out the ones we don't sell at the end of the year. As far as help goes, I'm blessed. I have Denise and Donna. Denise is 19 hours a week, part-time. She does most of our records administration, and then Donna assists me in the office with the voter tasks and other vitals tasks. The state is going to be switching over the vital system segment by segment. So they're starting marriage. They're gotten birth just about there, and deaths. And it's a whole new module, a whole new way of doing stuff. We were spending an awful lot of money on these protective sleeves for our vital records. They were over $1 a piece. It just made my spine tingle just having to spend that money for one little clear sheet of plastic. So we had some CPC funding, and we were able to publish some of our old books and then recycle the sheets that are so expensive and reuse them. So we've got a good supply of them going in for the next couple of years, so we won't be spending a lot of money on those, and we can recycle the books, and then at some time we'll print them again. So that's handy. And I don't know what else. It's just been election city.
In the past, you've talked about like archival,
Right.
the ancient, logs and things.
Yep.
And restoring those. How's that been
Yes.
going?
Well, we have a bookbinder. I believe he's in Freetown. He's an older gentleman. His dad bound our books before him. I think he's in his 90s. I don't know for how much longer he's going to be able to do it, but he's done quite a few of them for us. We're just waiting for a bill for him to submit for the CPC, and we've done, I want to say, probably about maybe 25 books. So probably, I would say probably around 40 years worth of records, both death, marriage, and birth. And then some of the older books, those are going to have to go, I think, to be rebound. There's a couple of them that are starting to fall apart.
Because you must have stuff from
Oh, we
like
have some really
1790
old
and
stuff
1800.
that you don't want to take it out, you don't want to thumb through it. I mean, the oils on your fingers will start to deteriorate these books. They're kept in the vault, which is a good environment. It's a humidity-controlled environment. So they are in a good, safe place, and we don't let those out for anyone to thumb through them
Right.
because they wouldn't last if we did that.
Yeah, so fragile.
Yeah, they are, yeah. But it's important to keep that stuff,
Yeah,
it really
for sure.
is.
Can they be digitized?
It could. I don't know if some of these books, depending on how they're bound with the spine, if you could bend them to do that.
Well, I
We've
think-
looked into that. There are companies, and
There'd be
we
a service
actually...
that would do it probably a little more
Right, there
carefully,
was
yeah.
a service that would come out to do that, and then we found that they were going to take our records and actually bring them to New York to scan them, and I didn't think that was a good idea. I don't think the record should ever leave here. Even though they swore it was, safe, I just saw this huge paper storm with papers going everywhere and envisioned that we wouldn't be getting back our records, so we didn't opt for that. Maybe at some point the town will buy a scanner, or, that's a great thing. It's a great thing for community service hours for the kids in the school, maybe to come in, we could have someone start to scan documents, because it's going to be a forever and ever project to do. There'll be no end to it, so. I don't know if you have anything else for me, if you want to talk about anything else. It's pretty clear cut.
Voting booths.
Oh, yes, I would love to get new voting booths.
Okay, I know they need to be updated.
Oh, the ones at the
Yeah.
school are falling apart. They've
Yeah.
taken a beating over the years. At one of my clerks' conferences, I was lucky enough to go and talk to the town clerk of Norwell, who is going to retire, and she actually bought new voting booths, and I was able to get, I think, about 15 for free. And John Bell went up to there and got them for us, and those are the ones that we use during in-person early voting, and everyone loves them. They have electrical outlets, they have lights on them. Should we lose power, they can still see what they're doing, they'll be able to fill out their ballots, and they're nice and sturdy. The cost of them, though, I think they're quite expensive, so it was quite a gift that we got from Norwell, even by getting 15 of them. If we could get more like that, that would be great. But I believe they're in the hundreds apiece, so that's expensive. But those old rickety ones, they're falling apart. They are.
They're totally, they've been
Yes.
retired for 50 years now.
Yes, yes,
They
they
just
look
don't know
like
it.
they've, been through the mill, they really have. Yeah, it would be nice to have something new, but that's a want, it's not a need. As long as they're functional, we can still use them for another year or two. Yeah.
Anybody else? Bill?
You said there's $24,000 for new polling equipment?
That's, $24,000 was set aside.
When was that?
I want to say it was either in 2020 or 2021.
Oh, okay.
They set it aside.
You're just not ready to move yet? 'cause
Well,
they're
we
still working.
waited because after the election, the last presidential, not this one, but the prior one, there was so much controversy about our voting equipment that we did not want to throw our hat in the ring. I had residents that I had to bring in to actually show them when I did my test decks. And once they saw how our machines worked, it put their mind and heart at ease. But the media pumped out so much stuff that they shouldn't trust these, polling election tabulators, and it's unwarranted. Now they've been tested, they're approved, other people have used them, any bugs that were in there are worked out of them, we're not getting the first generation of them. I thought it was smart to wait. you know?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But then you want to move before the prices get out of control.
Right,
you know?
well, they're very slow too, that's the thing.
yeah,
And
big
with
time,
vote by mail and having to put through the tabulators all of those ballots, the speed of our old equipment was much better than the speed of the new equipment. So everybody that I talked to said, as long as you can keep them, keep them. So I think we're one of maybe 14 communities that still have the old AccuVotes. And that's pretty much it for me, unless you guys have more questions.
The elections were so smooth, so thank you so much.
Good, no, it's a lot of work, and I'm glad that they went well. I think we're still tired from them. It's exhausting, but thank you for
I
that.
was really surprised at the numbers we got from that last election. I know it's a presidential election, people come
Right.
out, but it was something, like, I figured it was like 80% of our
Yeah.
registered voters probably came
Right.
out. That's great.
Nice.
That's,
They
yeah.
did. It was good. It was good.
Okay, any other questions for Kara?
Thank you.
Karen,
Thank you, I
thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you so
Thank you for the
much.
job you do. Keep doing it.
Well, thank you.
You know, we're here to help.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Too, bye.
Okay, so that concludes our department head presentations. We've now met with all departments. And I really don't have anything other for tonight. Does any committee members provide anything? No? Okay, so just to go over a couple of our next meetings, and again, I really got to appreciate all the effort from the committee members to make these meetings. You know, we're on a little bit of a meeting overload, and I think we're going to smooth it out next year, I'm sure. So we have another meeting tomorrow night with the select board, which is a joint meeting, which is when we are going to vote the budget. And as I understand it, we'll have a budget packet for us tomorrow night. Right, guys?
You should have your budget books.
We got the budget
From the
books, but for
24th is the last one I have.
The FY '26, What-
So you should have, your budget books for FY '26.
On the,
pre-written by like Bill has, right?
Yeah, ours have been updated, well, mine's updated from the 24th, and I don't know if there's been any
Of
change.
February?
Of February, yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
So that's the most up to date?
February 24th is the most recent.
Okay,
You see
is
at
that-
the very top.
That's what we got last week.
Okay, that's what we're gonna get, okay.
Thank you.
And so we've got the meeting on the 4th. We still have some other work to do. One of the things, I've been talking to the school department, we're gonna meet with them. And we're gonna have them in either on the 19th or the 26th.
Okay.
That's a Wednesday night, I believe. Does that work for you guys, 19th, 26th, or 26th?
That works, either one's fine with me.
Any preference?
The 26th would be better because the 19th is a conservation meeting.
Okay,
Okay.
that work for everybody? Okay, and then
Yep.
one of the other things that we have to also do is, we've got to look at the warrants. And those warrant articles that need a finance committee vote, we have to do that. Hopefully, I'm trying to avoid that, and not have to do it on the night of town meeting, like we've done in the past, so we'll try to,
We want to do it before.
yeah,
We can do it that same night? No?
we've done that before,
No, I mean, the same night that the school's coming in.
if the warrant is available. I
It's
don't
like a
know,
week
do you-
from town meeting, it should be right then, right?
26, it should be available on 26.
26, okay, so then the 26th would be the preferable night.
So 2 birds with 1 stone?
Yeah, that
Yep.
way we get it done.
Yep, okay.
Long one? Have a long meeting?
It wouldn't be that long.
Oh, good.
It wouldn't be that long.
I've heard the school budget about 7 times now.
Yeah,
He's
right.
pretty good at it. It's nice and condensed.
Yeah, I don't, I'm not looking for a big, long presentation either, but it just, again, like we've been having, they talk about, FY '24, how did that go, what are you doing? We're in '25, how's that going, and here's what we want to do in '26, and I think that's a good way for the department heads to present themselves and to let us know, what's going on in the departments, what kind of, issues that we may be having, and what the priorities are, and what are the needs, how have the needs changed from '24, '25, '26, and so I think it's a good approach. So, okay, let's try to do that, and then, other than that, we're just at town meeting. So, anything else from anybody?
No?
No? Do we have,
Tony?
oh, sorry. Is,
We good?
okay, okay, we're good. So can we have a
Motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn by Bill? Second, Walter. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, we're good. Meeting
Aye.
over.
Which